After how much I defended Fallen Kingdom, this is probably going to come across as the biggest sellout ever to my followers. Jurassic World Dominion is the sixth film in the Jurassic franchise and is once again directed by Colin Trevorrow. 4 years after the destruction of Isla Nublar, Claire and Owen are looking after their adopted daughter Macy, trying to protect her from any evil geneticists out there who are trying to get their hands on her. But when she does get kidnapped by workers from a company called Biosyn, Claire and Owen set out to locate their headquarters and rescue her. And meanwhile, Alan Grant, Ellie Sattler, and Ian Malcolm are already investigating Biosyn because they see a link between them and a massive swarm of locusts that are decimating crops in America, causing a huge shortage in the food supply. And there's something about dinosaurs being out and about in the world, I don't know. If you didn't recognize already, I'm getting on camera here without a written review because I tried writing a review for this movie, but I couldn't stay on task because just so many thoughts had been just clouding my mind, making it so difficult for me to stay on task. So I'm just getting on camera now so that I can be as genuine as possible. Let me start by saying that when I went to see Jurassic World Dominion, it was not just an everyday trip to the theater for me. This was something really special. I was going to witness the conclusion to a story that first enchanted me some 14 years ago when my parents first allowed me to see the original Jurassic Park, and it captured my imagination. It brought it to life. It brought it to the closest thing to life that is in all likelihood possible on screen in such a realistic manner. And I still find a lot of enjoyment in the sequels, even at their worst. In Jurassic Park 3, I still find enough enjoyment in that movie that I never skip it when I do a marathon. And I even now I will still stand by my word that Fallen Kingdom was a fantastic sequel. And because of that, because of everything that I heard, I had been following the next movie very closely. I mean, you can see I've been talking about it for the last 4 years. I've been making video after video updating it. And from everything I've seen, it seemed like all of it was heading in exactly the right direction, that Colin Trevorrow had all the right ideas of what this movie and, in fact, this trilogy needed to be. Which is why it's with a heavy heart that I have to say that this was a frustrating disappointment. Was there anything at all I liked about this movie? Yes, there was. It is great to see the old characters again. Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum. I've really been so happy for them to see just how joyed they were to be working with each other again. And even when they were off work, when COVID hit and they all were staying in a hotel together, it really made me all the more excited to see them again. And they work off each other really well. And I do have to say, I applauded when both Grant and Sattler appeared on screen. And when the two of them got together with Ian Malcolm for the first time since the very first movie again, time stood still for a moment. But do they all have a legit reason for being there? Most of them. I mean, like, Claire and Owen for sure. Ian Malcolm, kinda. It's a little coincidental, but still not outside the realm of possibility that he's speaking with Biosyn right now. And Ellie Sattler, it does make sense that she's and that she is where she is. But Dr. Grant, not so much. I mean, it starts out like it does kind of make sense the way it starts out. Like paleontology, he's still really wrapped up in it, but needless to say, practically no one is interested anymore because, dinosaurs are out and about in the world. And And so because of that, it's just getting really lonely, and so that gives him motivation to go with Sattler, but does that really give her much of a reason to invite him? Not exactly. And the thing is, too, on this adventure, Grant, he really doesn't do a whole lot. He never puts his skills to much use. I mean, I was kind of joyed when he gets excited seeing a dreadnought below him. Like there's that, and but aside from that, there's not a whole lot that he does in this movie. I mean, there is some really cool moments with all of them, like Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum. He's the most enjoyable thing in this movie. He made me laugh quite a bit, and he does have a couple of pretty sweet moments. And aside from that, even though most of the characters do have a reason for being there, you still got like Kayla Watts, the new character played by DeWanda Wise. She does serve as Clara and Owen's transportation at one point, and then she just kind of hangs around for the rest of the movie. And I will give the movie this too. The effects are mostly still really good. It's pretty cool to see so many animatronics. They were really impressive. But I gotta say, some of the CGI, particularly a couple of shots of Blue's baby, Beta, and some some stegosaurs in the background, some of the CGI is a bit wonky, which I don't get how. They had a whole extra year to absolutely perfect it. And some questionable effects, that hasn't happened besides like one single shot of ankylosaurs in Jurassic Park 3. Just how... I mean, it's not too distracting. It's definitely not the worst thing in this movie. The most entertaining parts of this movie is what goes down in Malta. Like, those scenes are the best that the movie has to offer in terms of like dinosaurs interacting with humans. There's a pretty slick motorcycle chase with the Atrociraptors that leads to kind of a cool, a pretty thrilling plane escape. And good to see Dilophosaurus again, I guess. Now, one of the biggest problems with this movie is that the current state of the world doesn't seem to have much effect on the people who helped make it. Like, you think of like Macy, for example. Now I still defend Macy completely. I think she had every reason to think that it was the right thing to release those dinosaurs at the end, given her circumstances. But the thing is, well, let me start by what they do with her. Her shtick in this movie is that she knows that she was created pretty much just to replicate another person, and so she's struggling with that, trying to see herself as her own. And that does make sense. That does make some sense, knowing that in Fallen Kingdom there were things that were being expected of her, how Iris tried to make her speak a certain way, and she now knows that that's because that it was all for Lockwood's sake. Or was it? That's the thing. That this movie creates a problem with that. Now, like I said in my my 48-minute essay on Fallen Kingdom, I figured that we were going to find out a bit more about the circumstances under which she was created, and we do, but it doesn't really add up. Like, when this new reveal is given to us, you look back on Fallen Kingdom and realize there's conflicting information here, and that's extremely disappointing, because it really did seem like Colin Trevorrow had a goal through these three movies, or at least the last two, Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, and yet it still kind of feels like another Rise of Skywalker case, but worse. I mean, partially worse because I loved Fallen Kingdom. I had pretty mixed feelings on Last Jedi, and so it wasn't as harsh of a blow when Rise of Skywalker came out and they did a lot of course correction. But here, it really is disappointing. And the thing is, as I was getting to, Macy, the characters like Macy and especially Dr. Wu as well, the fact that they've helped create this world, even if it was for like either good intentions or just because his ego inflated. In the case of Dr. Wu, like the current state of the world has nothing to do with their character development in this movie. That's so disappointing and it just feels like they're trying to make people forget, make people who didn't like Fallen Kingdom just forget about that movie. Maybe, I don't know. And so, but Dr. Wu, when he says, I have to fix a terrible mistake, like, in the trailers, that mistake doesn't have to do with any of his past creations. It has to do with this totally new one in the movie, the locust. Like, what? And also Owen and Claire too. Like, I would kind of figure that the two of them would be kind of torn between protecting humans and protecting dinosaurs at this point. They're kind of just about protecting dinosaurs, though. And the thing is, when I saw when I saw glimpses of the chase in the trailer of Owen on the motorcycle trying to get away from the Atrociraptors, I thought there's kind of a cool. I thought that there would be a pretty cool reversal there, because you kind of have to think back on the first Jurassic World, when he's on his motorcycle in the woods and he's got the raptors on his side, running alongside him, and you have to just think that he felt untouchable in that moment, knowing that his research and his efforts to establish dominion over the raptors has paid off. And now here he is, because there's kind of a ripple effect, because Eli Mills wanted to create the Indoraptor based on his research. And from that came this thing with the laser pointer, and it's kind of obvious now that word got out that the laser is what you need to train a dinosaur to attack living prey, and so you can kind of piece together that there is a ripple effect there, that now here he is on a motorcycle with his research coming back to literally bite him. That would really work, except that would kind of encapsulate the theme of this movie, if that was actually the theme, if it was actually about, like, if it was kind of seeming like there might be a role reversal in the world. But now I wasn't expecting like full-on like Planet of the Apes, like dinosaurs are the dominant species and humans are nearly extinct or anything like that. But just if it leaned into that would kind of make that conclusion I came up with the raptors seems somewhat valid, but it doesn't seem like much like that at this point. And here's the reason for that. It's the fact that the fact that dinosaurs are now roaming our world, that has essentially nothing to do with this movie. It was the main focus of the ending of Fallen Kingdom, how there are new threats here, and it's not even the focus. I mean, like, I cannot believe the potential that was squandered with this movie. Like, there was so much built up. It seemed like there was a clear path that Colin Trevorrow had laid out to get to here, and it just seems like another case of course correction. Like, people didn't like Fallen Kingdom, so like okay, we better just reverse everything, go back to this to another like enclosed area and just have people fight dinosaurs there. But the thing is, even people who didn't like Fallen Kingdom still liked where the ending was going, and I don't get what the mindset was there. Why they wouldn't make that the focus. I'm sorry for all the stammering, but I'm just, please try to bear with me. And so here's the thing. People might say I shouldn't have gone into Dominion with such high expectations, but here's the thing. When I went into Fallen Kingdom, I prepared myself. I thought, the trailers are kind of hinting that the movie might end with dinosaurs on the mainland, but I guess maybe not. So I thought, maybe at the very worst, this will probably just play it really safe. Like the dinosaurs might be on the mainland for a little while, but it'll just be like another Lost World retread. They'll just be taken to that island sanctuary again. But no, I mean the ending went for it, and it just said, okay, the islands are gone. There's no going back. Dinosaurs are here. We have to deal with them, but no, we don't, because instead of focusing on that, it just goes to this completely detached story, completely detached from all of this, one that honestly could have just as easily have happened if the islands weren't gone. The amount of squandered potential in this movie it's insulting. It's really, I hate to say this, it's insulting. Like, I mean, I'll say there are things I guess I wanted to see in this movie, but I mean, I did want to see Biosyn back in the picture. I did want to see like Dodgson, but the thing is, this could have been anybody. It could have been any organization. We got Dodgson here, but we don't have any reason to care, because it could have been anybody. We don't get any feel for like why his presence from beginning to end of this series is so significant. And that's just, all of this is just so sad. I mean, even the dinosaurs, they hardly play any role in this. It's mostly the locusts are the main threat. And the thing is, the locusts in a vacuum, I guess I don't mind the idea of. I mean, genetic engineering and all that, I guess that kind of works in this universe, but this franchise is about dinosaurs. And Fallen Kingdom gave us a fantastic cliffhanger to this and to dinosaurs in our world, and it doesn't even focus on not just dinosaurs in the world, but hardly even on dinosaurs. I mean, they kind of show up every now and then. What this is, it's pretty much just kind of it's kind of a spy thriller that just happens to have dinosaurs show up every now and then. How could they have thought that this would be the note to end on? Like, after 30 years of storytelling, and what I thought was very careful planning from Colin Trevorrow, I can't fathom the notion that this was the best movie they could have come up with. Now, like I said, there are some things in this movie that I wanted to see. I got the OG cast back. They were fun. I got Dilophosaurus for a few scenes. That's what I wanted. But even when these two groups of characters meet, it doesn't have the heft, the emotional drive that it ought to, and that's very disappointing. And I mean that they do banter a bit, and it's enjoyable, it's funny, but really that's kind of the biggest problem with this movie. It's kind of an amalgamation of echoes of things that I want to see, just minus the substance. And I'm not just a Jurassic fan who just goes for everything that's just on screen, just everything that I see. I care about the purpose. I care about the underpinnings, and there's just so little of that. There's so little purpose to these characters being together, so little purpose to even the dinosaurs. And it's upsetting. And again, you might say I shouldn't have gone in with very high expectations, but I just gotta say, going in with low expectations for this movie was impossible. I mean, I tried with Fallen Kingdom, got more than I was expecting, honestly, and so I went into this just hoping for at least really good. And admittedly, I could not get the thought out of my head of being able to come out saying that it was the greatest movie of my generation. But instead, as I was leaving the theater, as I was driving home, as I was taking my friends back to their places. This really is what I was thinking and feeling. Jurassic World Dominion is not only the worst film in the Jurassic franchise, it's easily the most disappointing experience I've ever had at the movies. Now, I'm going to get into more specifics when I do a spoiler talk video, which I am going to do, and I will do it once I've pulled myself together more and I feel I'm more able to write. Not exactly sure how long that's going to take, though. And a couple other things before I turn off the camera here and I leave. For a movie that marketed itself as the epic conclusion of the Jurassic era, we don't hear any of the classic Jurassic theme. Maybe we do half a time. Like, I think I recall once where it did that thing where the theme starts playing and then it kind of trails off into something else. Like, that happens once, if I remember correctly, and that's absolutely it. Like, I know the music in a movie is really important to me, and if you're going to say this is the conclusion to this whole core story, you got to play the theme at least a few times. And even the runtime for this movie, like 2.5 hours, a whole 20 minutes longer than most of the other movies, it's not warranted because like I said, there's so little purpose to all of this, and there's just so little depth to it all that the 2.5 hour runtime I thought would be completely necessary to accomplish everything, and it's not. How? I mean, it starts out okay. It starts out like a couple of scenes with like a pretty enjoyable scene with Owen rounding up some Parasaurolophus, and it starts out just well paced enough to establish some character and stuff, and so I liked that. But then it just really speeds up, and which is so little purpose, and it did not do a good job of justifying that longer runtime. And again, there's just so much that should have made this movie so much more, that not only could have but should have, and what was promised. And now here I am finding myself, I didn't want to have to do this, but here I am having to play that Anthony Hopkins clip again.
Deep down inside, you begin to wonder, has my life been wasted?
I just cannot believe it. The amount of just how much potential was squandered in this movie, it doesn't feel real. I feel, it feels like I'm in some twisted dream. It's unreal to me. So, but as a fellow audience member said at the end, it is what it is. And that's the problem. What it is not good. So, let me get on to the Factor Facts. Scoring on the Factor Facts, I'm going to be generous and give Jurassic World Dominion a 50%. So, about half the movie that it ought to be. You know, a while back, I recall seeing a comment on the ending for Fallen Kingdom on YouTube, and it came across to me as just a cynical hater. They wrote something along the lines of, "Wow, this is a great setup for the next movie. I wonder what they're going to focus on instead." I can't believe how Dominion validated that. That's a wrap. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this review helpful, and I hope you'll stick around for my spoiler talk video. Like and share, subscribe for more. This is Pop Culture, and you know me.